Have you ever felt like someone was subtly dodging you, but you couldn't quite put your finger on why? Maybe they never make eye contact, keep their responses short, or seem uneasy when you're around. If this sounds familiar, know that you're not alone. The truth is, most people won't come out and say, "I don't like you," but their actions almost always give them away. And here's the tricky part. We often ignore or misread these signals, leading to uncomfortable situations and wasted emotional energy. Maybe you've chased a friendship that was never mutual, tried to connect with someone who clearly wasn't interested, or felt confused by sudden shifts in someone's behavior. If any of this resonates with you, don't worry. This video will give you the clarity you need. Today, we're breaking down 10 undeniable signs that someone doesn't like you. And more importantly, how to handle it in a way that protects your confidence and peace of mind. Here's something most people don't realize. Nonverbal cues make up over 70% of human communication. This means that what people do often matters far more than what they say. Recognizing these signals will help you avoid unnecessary embarrassment, focus on the right relationships, and walk away from interactions that drain you. Stick around until the end, because the final sign is the hardest to detect, but the most crucial to understand. And if you've ever experienced something like this, drop a comment below and share your story. Now, let's explore why learning to read these social cues is a game changer. Why recognizing social cues is essential. If understanding these signals is so important, why do so many people overlook or misinterpret them? The answer lies in how we've been conditioned to communicate. From an early age, we're taught to focus on what people say, but we rarely learn to pay attention to what they don't say. Yet, research shows that the majority of communication happens without words, through posture, tone of voice, and small unconscious gestures. Studies suggest that anywhere from 70% to 93% of human interaction is nonverbal. This means that even when someone isn't speaking, they're still conveying a message about how they feel. The problem is, if we fail to recognize these signals, we might keep investing time and energy into relationships that are already falling apart. There's also a psychological factor that makes rejection feel worse than we expect. Neuroscience has found that social exclusion activates the same areas of the brain associated with physical pain. That's why being ignored or treated with indifference can feel so uncomfortable. But the sooner you recognize when someone isn't interested in your presence, the sooner you can redirect your attention toward people who genuinely value you. It's also important to understand that rejection isn't always intentional or cruel. Most people won't openly admit they don't enjoy someone's company because doing so could be seen as rude or socially inappropriate. Instead, they rely on subtle behaviors, hoping the other person will pick up on them and act accordingly. The goal here isn't to make you overanalyze every interaction or assume the worst in people. It's about becoming more socially aware, avoiding unnecessary awkwardness, and focusing your energy on the right connections. Now that we've covered why this matters, let's get to the main point. What are the signs that someone doesn't like you? 10 signs someone doesn't like you. By now, you understand that body language can reveal more than words. But how do you recognize when someone is subtly signaling that they don't enjoy your presence? Below are 10 common signs, along with what they mean and how to respond. 1. They avoid eye contact. Have you ever spoken to someone who seemed to do everything possible to avoid looking at you? This is one of the clearest indicators of discomfort or disinterest. Eye contact is one of the strongest ways we establish connection. When someone likes you, they naturally engage in frequent and meaningful eye contact. If instead, the person constantly looks away, glances at their phone, or seems restless, it may be a sign that they feel uneasy or simply aren't interested in the interaction. Example: you're telling an exciting story, but they keep checking the time, looking around the room, or focusing on something else instead of you. If this happens occasionally, it could just be distraction. But if it's a pattern, take a step back and see if they show any interest at another time. If not, it may be best to accept that the connection isn't as strong as you thought. 2. They give short, unenthusiastic responses. A natural conversation flows easily between both people. But when one person keeps the dialogue alive while the other only gives short, surface-level answers, it's often a sign of disinterest. Example: you, how was your weekend? Them, good. You, oh nice. What did you do? Them, nothing much. If they speak this way to everyone, it might just be their personality. But if they engage normally with others and only act this way toward you, it's a sign that they're not invested in the interaction. Instead of forcing the conversation, reduce your effort and see if they initiate any future discussions. 3. Their body language is closed off. People communicate emotions through their body language, often without realizing it. Crossed arms, leaning away, or stiff posture can indicate discomfort or a lack of interest. Example: you're speaking to a coworker, and they keep their arms crossed, lean backward, and never get physically closer to you. Pay attention to whether this is how they act with everyone or just with you. If they're open and engaged with others but closed off when interacting with you, it's a strong indicator that they don't feel comfortable around you. 4. They don't laugh at your jokes or acknowledge your comments. Laughter is one of the biggest signs of social connection. When people enjoy someone's company, they naturally laugh, even at unfunny jokes. If someone never reacts to your humor or ignores your comments, it's a sign they may not enjoy your presence. Example: you make a light-hearted joke in a group conversation. Everyone laughs, except for one person who stays silent or quickly changes the subject. If this happens often, it's a strong signal that they don't feel connected to you. Instead of trying to win them over, focus on people who genuinely enjoy your company. 5. They always have an excuse to avoid you. If someone consistently comes up with reasons to avoid seeing or talking to you, they're likely not interested in spending time with you. Example: you invite a friend out multiple times, and they always respond with, "maybe another time," but that time never comes. Instead of chasing someone who keeps dodging plans, take their actions as a sign that they don't value the relationship as much as you do. If they truly want to spend time with you, they'll also make an effort. 6. They interact with you less on social media. In today's world, social media plays a big role in how we communicate and maintain relationships. If someone never engages with your posts, ignores your messages, or avoids interacting with you online, it could be a sign that they aren't interested in maintaining a connection. Example: you frequently like and comment on their posts, send messages, or reply to their stories, but they never acknowledge it, or worse, they leave you on seen without responding. How to respond: don't force online interactions. If someone wants to stay in touch, they'll naturally engage with you too. If they don't, it's best to move on rather than seek validation from someone who isn't interested. 7. They only talk to you when they need something. If someone only reaches out when they need a favor but never makes an effort to check in or start a conversation otherwise, it's a clear sign that they don't genuinely value the relationship. Example: a coworker only speaks to you when they need help with a project but never engages in casual conversation or asks how you're doing. How to respond: if it's a professional relationship, keep things formal and don't expect friendship. If it's personal, recognize that this person isn't invested in you beyond what they can gain. Save your energy for people who appreciate you. 8. They frequently interrupt or cut you off. When someone respects and enjoys your company, they listen attentively and allow you to express yourself. If a person constantly interrupts you, ignores what you're saying, or changes the subject mid-conversation, it's a sign that they don't value your input. Example: you're telling a story, and before you can finish, they cut you off and start talking about something completely different without acknowledging what you said. How to respond: test limiting your conversations with them and see if they notice or adjust their behavior. If they continue dismissing you, it's better to spend time with people who actually care about your words. 9. They use sarcasm or passive-aggressive remarks. While friendly teasing can be part of a good relationship, frequent sarcasm or passive-aggressive comments often hide real disdain. If someone frequently makes jokes at your expense or subtly undermines you, they may not respect you as much as you think. Example: every time you share a personal achievement, they respond with something like, "Wow, finally," or "took you long enough." How to respond: if this happens often, call them out on it in a calm but direct way. If they brush it off or get defensive, it's a sign that the relationship isn't healthy. Sometimes, the best response is to disengage completely. 10. Their behavior towards you suddenly changes. One of the hardest but most telling signs is when someone who once seemed close to you suddenly becomes distant, cold, or uninterested without explanation. Example: a friend who used to check in on you regularly stops reaching out, responds to messages with one-word answers, and avoids making plans. How to respond? If this relationship is important to you, you can ask them directly if something has changed. If they don't open up or show that they've lost interest in maintaining the connection, respect their decision and move forward. Now that you know these 10 signs, remember that a single behavior on its own doesn't necessarily mean someone dislikes you. What matters is the pattern. If you notice multiple signs over time, it's a strong indicator that the relationship may not be as mutual as you thought. But the real question is, how should you handle this in a mature and emotionally intelligent way? How to handle it the right way. Now that you can recognize the signs that someone doesn't like you, the big question is, what should you do about it? The worst thing you can do is force a connection that clearly isn't mutual. Instead of reacting impulsively, there are smarter ways to handle these situations while protecting your self-respect and emotional well-being. 1. Accept the reality. Not everyone will like you, and that's perfectly fine. It's a normal part of life. If someone consistently shows signs of disinterest or avoidance, the best thing you can do is accept it and move on. Trying to force a connection will only lead to more discomfort and frustration. When you notice the signs, don't ignore them. Respect the other person's space and focus your energy elsewhere. 2. Don't take it personally. Sometimes, the issue isn't about you at all. People go through personal struggles, have unresolved issues, or simply don't click with certain personalities. Rejection doesn't always mean you did something wrong. Avoid overanalyzing or blaming yourself. Instead, remind yourself that not every relationship is meant to last, and that's okay. 3. Invest in the right relationships. Instead of spending time trying to win over someone who doesn't value your presence, redirect your focus toward people who truly enjoy your company. Prioritize relationships that are mutual, healthy, and fulfilling. Pay attention to who supports you, respects you, and makes you feel good about yourself. These are the people who truly deserve your time and effort. 4. Develop social awareness. Learning to read social cues is a powerful skill. This doesn't mean you should become overly sensitive or assume every distant behavior is a rejection, but rather that you should develop the ability to identify when a relationship is one-sided. Observe patterns, recognize when it's time to step back, and most importantly, understand that walking away from a situation that isn't serving you is an act of self-respect. The key takeaway here is that your focus should not be on people who don't like you. It should be on those who do. When you stop chasing validation from the wrong people, you make space for the right ones to enter your life. By recognizing the signs of disinterest early and handling them with maturity, you'll avoid unnecessary emotional stress and strengthen the relationships that truly matter. There's no point in investing in one-sided connections when there are plenty of people who will appreciate you for who you are. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced these signs with someone? Have you ever held on to a friendship or relationship that clearly wasn't reciprocal? Share you. And if this content helped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on social intelligence and human relationships. See you in the next one.